This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
This is Amanda Celine Miller, the voice of Boruto in Sailor Jupiter, and you are listening to A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live.
This week, we talk about my top 10 recommended games based on some of your favorite anime series, as well as some news, including the new Super Mario Maker 2 update that you gotta check out. All this and more as ACMG presents Talk Time Live Extra. Select Start.
Welcome to the show to give you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is ACMG presents Talk Time Live Extras. Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
Gentlemen, welcome back. This is ACMG Presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. Once again, and I always have to say this nowadays because this is becoming a norm, I hope everybody is safe, I hope everybody is sane, and I hope everybody is sound out here during this time. It's only just getting deeper. I'm not going to say worse. It's just getting deeper out here. Every day is something new, and everything is just going insane out there. It's really crazy. Shout out to all my friends out there, and I've reached out to some that unfortunately are going through some situations based upon the pandemic right now, and it's real, man. It is real. There's some really selfish. I'm trying to find a way to be articulate about it without being insulting or too insulting for that matter. But there are some selfish people out there who refuse to rather believe that it's real, aren't educated enough to understand that it's real, or just plain don't care. And they will rather sacrifice what they consider the weak in order to reopen America. And to that, I say, screw you, man. Screw all of you. I'm sorry. Money is not the end all be all. And only the educated, only the truly educated understands that. And I'm starting to realize that in our society, in this day and age, that education is becoming a lost art. And those who are normally on top are not that educated, are not that wise. And that's the unfortunate thing. But I'm not here to talk about politics. I am here to make sure that everybody is okay, and by doing so, talking about all things gaming on this episode of Select Start. So I digress in the highest of ways right now. But shout out to all my friends out there. You know who you are, who are, going through it and experiencing all of the trial and tribulations that's going on right now, whether they lost a job, whether they have been diagnosed or whatever. Just keep your heads up, keep strong. And if anything, before we move on, I will advise everybody, there are a lot of us on Facebook, on Twitter or whatever like that, IG, that have a large friend list. Maybe some people, especially that other people who are just following you. I can't speak for the people that you're following because it's like you can, if you're at a certain level or whatever, you can only do but so much. But I would say to this that to the people that exclusively, but you haven't talked to in a while, reach out to those people. Reach out. Don't just use them as a number for your list, for your friends list. Like if you know them, if they're cool like that, but you haven't talked to them like that, like reach out. Just reach out. You never know who's going through something out there. And we all going through something right now. We are all going through something right now. So even just reaching out to people, I've reached out to a few of my people, some people I used to work with, and then other people from my A.C.M.G. group just to check up on them and everything. And then other people reached out to me too. Shout out to Molly Flanagan again. She reached out to me last week. and just to check up on me and, invited me in to that Zoom, for discussion or I don't know what the hell they call it. She invited me to Zoom, but, to talk with with her other peers and whatnot and some friends. So, I mean, like, people reach out. You never know how that affects people. If they're going through it, if they're contracted with the disease, it can actually help them mentally. And you need some motivation to get through all of this, no matter what you're doing or what you're experiencing right now. You need somebody to reach out and let them know that you mean something to them. So this episode of Select Start, there's no reviews this week. As you know, two big games that are coming out on the Switch tomorrow. I don't think anything else coming out really big on the PlayStation or anything, but Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, the Switch version, is coming out tomorrow. Shout out to Molly again on that one. And Trial of Mana, Secrets of Mana is coming out tomorrow. That one I probably will hold off on and get at a later time. I did get Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm because I wanted to complete the collection of Ultimate Ninja Storm games, and I knew this game was eventually going to be on the Switch, and I'm so happy about that. And it's celebrating the anniversary of Naruto anyway, so I mean, I'm all for it. And, I gotta support. I gotta look out. So, in honor of that, this episode is going to be talking about the top 10. Like I would say definitely the top 10. I was wondering, should I go top 10 or top 5, but I'm going to go top 10 here. Top 10 recommended anime games that I've played, that I've enjoyed. And some of them may be ones that you've never heard of before, because when it comes to anime games or anime licensed games, I would even go as far as like getting the import version or the Japanese version in Japan, or sometimes even the China version, because they were region free on the PlayStation or whatnot. So, or the PSP. So we're going to talk about some of the ones, and we're going to talk about a particular one that people have been debating about based upon a crapshoot of a game that is out today. So we're going to cover that, as well as some honorable mentions as well. So we're going to get on all of that. But we do have some news to talk about, so let's just get down to it. And by the way, next week, Streets of Rage 4 comes out, I believe on the 30th, which is a Thursday. So if that is the case, I may do a quick playthrough and then review that on Friday, and do a review on Friday and have that out for you. Otherwise, I will do Ultimate Ninja Storm, or just extend that to next week to check it out there. But I'm least excited that I am still able to, at this time, get some game reviews out and get a chance to check out some new stuff. Remember, in this show, I can't speak for anybody else, but on this show, I don't get freebies. I don't even ask for freebies. I usually pay out of pocket for a lot of the games that we get here. So the deal is that, like, with everything going on right now, I'm holding back. It's like I would love to, keep buying the games, but due to the circumstances of everything's going on, we're going to keep it real. We got to keep resources going and preserve those resources as much as possible. So, I may be holding back on a game or two, so I won't. Not all games will be played at the time that they come out. So we got to work. We all got to do it together, man. We all in the same game here. So, but that's just to know that, like, no, I don't get freebies at all. And anybody who's known that, I don't do it. So I like to pay out of pocket. That way I feel organic about how I feel about the game, and I don't feel like just because I got the game for free that, I don't care as much. But because I don't like, I feel like sometimes people get tampered with when they get some type of privileges or whatever in that game, and I don't like to do that. So but we're gonna hold off, and there's plenty of things to talk about, and that's why we're doing today. We're holding off on certain reviews today, but yeah, that's going to be the top of the actual subject today on Select Start. So more newsworthy in conversation than anything. So speaking of news, let's get down to it. Super Mario Maker update. It premiered yesterday. It debuted yesterday and unleashed, if you will, the final update for Super Mario Maker. And this one was a big one. this was an insanely big one. Particularly the biggest thing that they added to it was World Maker, which is the ability to create world maps, much like you would see on Mario 3 and Mario World and every other 2D side-scrolling platform Mario game that you've played. It has in there. Now you have the ability to do that, and not only that, you could create 8 worlds within. They have a bracket or a block that allow you to make 8 different maps in there, much like you would see on every Mario game. 8 is the limit, and within it you can make up to 40 courses in there. So that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. You can also upload these maps to the course world and share them, as well as download other people's worlds as well. The other big addition to this is the Koopa Kids are now in the game. Let me tell you, that's why I think Mario 3 is my favorite of all time, because it debuted the Koopa Kids. And I think for the Mario universe, the Mario Brothers universe, it expanded the universe and the storytelling and everything. I loved it. I absolutely love what they did with that, and adding all of the Koopa Kids, and each one had a different personality or whatnot. And it was awesome. I love them, and they were so charismatic. You couldn't deny it. So they've added the Koopa Kids for you to do with whatever you feel like you want to do. If you want them in the middle of a random stage, you can put them there. You can have them all at once, which they showed on the video preview of it. You can, which I would not recommend unless you that badass that you could do a stage where it consists of every single Koopa Kid and trying to fight everybody off. That's impossible. But you could do it. You could absolutely do it. It's a great test. And if anybody can do it, I will praise them if they can make that happen. But all the Koopa Kids, and that's including Bowser Jr. now, because Bowser Jr. wasn't originally on the Super Mario Brothers 3. He came way later. They created that little character way later. So he's the youngest of the bunch. It probably is, if I'm understanding, the smartest of the bunch, or the one that Koopa loves best. So it's he's the youngest too. So they have every one of them on there. You could create your own crazy world. Now with the Koopa Kids, you could put one in each stage, or one or two within each stage in there, and it's pretty awesome. And adds so much more depth to that, adding those characters on there now. There are also new course items as well. This is really cool, because I think the last time we talked about having, Mario Maker, the one thing was missing for Mario Maker that was I was really, really disappointed by. And that was Mario 2. Well, I don't know if they answered. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure, by this point, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who was talking about that. Because apparently they listened. And as a result of that, there's a new mushroom, a particular mushroom that allows you to turn into the Super Mario 2 version, which allows you to actually pick up and throw enemies or objects from all over the place. It is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. So, what I don't know, because I haven't dug that deep in there, as to whether Peach, Luigi, and Toad are able to do any of that in here, let alone are you able to play as them and do it. So I don't know if you'll have that ability as well, but the mushroom is in there and it allows you to do all of that. I absolutely enjoy the fact that they did that. That was the one thing that was missing for me, because I love Mario 2. Mario 2 will always be the most significant Mario game of all of them, because of what they did. It was so different from what they did with everything else. But that's the beauty about Mario, and I think people don't notice or appreciate that, is that every Mario experience that you've ever played, there's always something extremely different that separates itself, that contrasts itself from the other games. You never play the same game twice. I mean, there's some common elements of a Mario game, but there's always something that differentiates itself from each game, that signifies, that symbolizes each game, or a certain significance, if you will. And that's always been the case. So now you also have that. You also have the frog suit from Super Mario Brothers 3, which has been added on. The power balloon, which I believe is all from one of the more 3D side scrollers that they have, allowing you to blow up into like a balloon and float in the air. You also have the super acorn. I like this one because you turn into a flying squirrel. You got the boomerang flower, which is like it turns you into a hammer brother, but instead of a hammer, it's a boomerang, which is awesome. The cannon box, that's a very interesting item because you wear this box on your head, but it's a cannon and you can shoot fire. You can shoot, I guess, fireballs or whatever on it, but you can also charge it to make it more powerful and take out more enemies. So you have that right there. You got the red PAL box, the old school red PAL box from Super Mario, not Super Mario Brothers, from the original Mario Brothers on here as well, and Super Mario 2. So it was on there as well, and you can use it up to 3 times. I like this because now the word PAL is now a gauge. So you use it once, and the letters begin to not light up anymore, and each time you use it, it doesn't light up anymore. So when all of 3 of it's gone, it lets you know by all of the letters turn from white to gray. So that's awesome. That's an awesome effect. This one is really cool. You got a Goomba mask, which allows you to go undercover, and if you wear this helmet or mask and you're near enemies, they don't bother you. You can roll right with them. You can roll a white right with them, and they won't even realize that you're there. That I think it's hilarious. There's also the Bullet Bill mask. You wear that, you could zip through the air and different types of ways and get through with ease, and even use it as weaponize it to blow up enemies once you're done with it. It's pretty cool. With all these new additions, without a doubt, like of all the games. If you look at all the 3D the 2D side-scrolling games that PlayStation, I'm sorry, not PlayStation, that Mario or Nintendo has made, with all of this combined, there has to be no argument that Super Mario Maker 2 is without a doubt the greatest 2D Mario platformer of all time. This allows you to create the ultimate Mario experience using virtually every single element from virtually every single Mario that you ever played, with the exception of like Odyssey, Sunshine, or whatnot. But I mean, going all the way up to Super Mario 3D, that's incredible. And you're creating this elaborate world that'll let you go through different phases of Mario's career. It's awesome. You cannot deny, like you could recreate a lot of things and change it to make it your way. It's so cool. It is absolutely cool. So if you haven't played Super Mario Maker 2, and again, this was a decision I made to buy this after playing Little Town Hero, which was Game Freak's abomination of an attempt to do something different from Pokemon. That game, Super Mario Maker 2, made me feel much better because I was so annoyed by Little Town Hero and the battle structure of what they were doing. I just hated it. So I've had some people in the A.C.M.G Facebook group talk about it, and it's a great game. It's a really great game. Fun, like it's Nintendo. It's Mario. There's only one Mario game I think I did not enjoy, and that was recently Super Mario Brothers U 2, which was the Wii U version that they ported over to the Switch. It was not fun at all. It was really nowhere near as fun as this is, or any of the other games. It was like, to me, it was by default, it was the worst Mario game I've played, by default. So I really enjoyed it. I loved it, and it's a hell of a worthy investment. It really reminds you, much like Odyssey did, reminds you of why you love Mario so much. But I will tell you that it is very overwhelming. It is like, even for me, like a designer, I am a graphic designer and such, and I like designing and creating. It is so many things that you could do. It is like you're trying to put it all together as to what you do. Now, I did courses prior to, and when I tried out the World Maker, I already had a lot of these actual courses already made. So I put them together in the course world and put it all together. And I just remembered how really cool the stages that I made were, and how challenging I made them. I didn't make it so I could get through easy. They were actually quite challenging, not too challenging, but like challenging enough that like you won't get through it, with just like by walking a straight line. And I really enjoyed it. So, but it's so much to do, and you got 8 worlds to make. Within it, you can make up to 40, and which means you got to make course after course after course and try to make it as different as the one prior to. And I really, really, really appreciated all the effort, but it's just like you got to take your time with it. It's a lot. It is a lot to do in this game, and try to make it balanced and also, diverse as you could possibly make it as well. So, but it is a lot of fun. It is absolutely in the story mode. I love the story element too. It's a lot. All of it is just a lot of fun. So if you don't want to design, you could go strictly to the actual story mode, which is actually more or less a tutorial of how to put things together. And but it's a fun one. It's a really fun one. So moving on, we're going to get to some anime talk, in particular Dragon Ball talk. Dragon Ball Kakarot, the first DLC, is expected to come next Tuesday, the 28th, as it will focus on the debut of Lord Barris and Goku turning into Super Saiyan God. I hope, with that said, that means I don't know how long this new DLC is going to be and the story is going to be, but it should be cool. I enjoy, as you know, I've reviewed this game and I really enjoyed Kakarot, not as much as I did with Xenoverse. So, but it was absolutely an enjoyable game. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. It looked fantastic. It was great to hear some people I've grown to know and love in the game as well. And it's Dragon Ball, but it definitely not. I would say not the best Dragon Ball game I've ever played, but it was really well. It was a really good game. It was nonetheless. But Lord Barris one, I am looking forward to that. I think that should be really good. I'm hoping though that with the DLC game here being based on Lord Barris' arrival, that the next one after that, I'm just hoping that they skip all the way to the Tournament of Power. I don't want to go through the Frieza one. I don't want to go through because I think there's only 2 DLCs that are coming out. So I don't want them to waste it. I wasn't too much of a fan of the Goku Black or Rose Goku or whatever saga. That Tournament of Power saga with Goku versus Jiren, that was the best. That was like pay-per-view level awesome. And I hope that they just skip over those 2 sagas and go straight to the Tournament of Power. I think a lot of people would love to see Ultra Instinct Goku in the game, much like you will the next amount of news that I'm segueing to, and which is Ultra Instinct Goku will be on Dragon Ball FighterZ as well, the new DLC. They didn't waste any time with that one, so they immediately announced that Ultra Instinct Goku will be the next person on there. Now, granted, the new season mode for Dragon Ball FighterZ will eventually have, I guess, 4 more slots after this, because they got Kale or Khalifa right now as the first one, and then if Ultra Instinct Goku. So I don't know who else is going to be added to the game at this point, because they have Jiren on there. They got a lot of other people on there that we wanted before. Goku Black is on there. Is on as well, so I don't know. Both Brawlies are on there. Both Brawlies, the one from Super and the one from the original OVA or the movie that was done by Vic Mignogna is on there. Well, he did both, but now they got Johnny doing that one now too. So I don't know. So I'm looking forward to it. Like, nothing really matters to me but Ultra Instinct Goku, because he was just what level is he going to go through that supersedes that? I hope it stops right here, because at this point, it should not go any higher. They said he may never go back, but the manga is still going on right now, and they still actually are going to continue it. So if you remember, Goku said he doesn't know how to get that back. I call BS on that. I think they're going to just hold it off and wait to the right moment to bring him back to Ultra Instinct and then have him control it better. So I'm looking forward to it, but Ultra Instinct Goku is just the baddest. So I'm looking forward to that. So that is all the news I have right now. We're going to just jump right in to what I believe is my recommend. Now, here's the thing. I thought about this, and of course, with any top 10, it's not, understand people, listeners, that it is not a end all be all. It is not. That's why I'm saying this is the top 10 recommended anime games that I've played. This is my own preference. Doesn't mean it's the best. It doesn't mean it's the worst. It doesn't mean it is like I said, the end all be all. So there's a lot of people who take it way too seriously to a point that they are pent up and frustrated, if you will, and focus way too much on this subject. So I would say to this, just, take it on, but I'm just talking about some games that I recommend. To be honest, there are a ton of great anime games, and some of them are really good. Some of them not so good. But the ones that I've looked at a long list online of games that I've played in the past, both here in the U.S. and then some imports that I've played that were really, really good. But when it came down to it, which one, when I looked at the list of games, which one just stuck out and had my nostalgia playing like, oh, this was really fun. Oh, I really enjoyed this. Oh, I found this to be more intriguing than the other ones. Some of them I based on just series because it is more of the same, but it's just a collaboration of really great, games and such. And here's the thing too, because I'm actually looking at this on my screen right now. I also tried looking at YouTube videos that were talking about best anime games, and that was a huge mistake. And the reason being is that there's not a lot of good in-depth conversation about anime licensed titles, and there are a lot of games that will say anime licensed titles in here, but they're really not. There was one in particular that said that had it written on there, and I think that's just because they want people to get the views, and all it takes is like a few seconds for them to count it as a view. And you look at this thing, which is kind of clickbaitish, if you really want to say. It did cover some games. It did cover some licensed games, but anime based, when you're saying like Dragon Ball, Ramna, One Half, Yu Yu Hakusho, all becoming video games, to that extent. No, for some reason, he was talking about Capcom versus Marvel. And I'm like, for one thing, Marvel's a comic book, and then the Capcom technically is not anime to an extent. They're video game characters. And then some of them did transition to an anime, but they weren't originally anime. I'm talking about anime games that were manga first, anime second, and then they transitioned and translated into in video game format. That's what I'm referring to. There's some of these pages, and I'm looking at one now, it's just going everywhere. It's absolutely going everywhere with this thing. But I tell you what, there were some really great games that I remember playing. And I'm so hardcore. I love anime. And when it came to like it being in video game form, I really, really appreciated what I was able to see and play throughout my entire, game, hood, if you will. So here's some that I actually recommend. And I will give you some descriptions of why. And there may be somewhat of a debate on some of them, or maybe one in particular, because I had this debate recently with somebody, but I'm just going to go off, and they're not in particular any like form of rank. I'm just listing them off as games that I've played. So don't make it, if I talk about the last one, don't make it, I want to stress that it's not I don't consider it the best one. It's just that's the one I'm paying off. So these are just ones I'm just going to, flip off, my mouth real quick. So, I think one of the most enjoyable card games that I reviewed last year was Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Missions. I love that game. I thought, and these are not only that, if you're an anime fan, these are great games to play during quarantine time here too as well. So Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Missions for the Nintendo Switch. Absolutely absolutely a lot of fun. It's like I said before, it's a very complex game, but it's also user friendly. It allows you to play, easy, and allows you to want to be challenged. So it's one of the best card games I've played since SNK versus Capcom on the Neo Geo Pocket. So I highly recommend that. There's a tons of cards that you could do, and you customize as well. Very deep RPG elements in this game. Great story mode too. Really fun story mode that you play through, and it's just so action packed. It's like in your face. It's just I want to say hard hitting, but there's a lot of fun and action going on with that game that it's hard to enjoy. Like even a novice person can enjoy it. You can just go in right in. But at the same time, if you want to learn how to play it deeper, then you're really going to have to study. You're really going to have to study, especially if you're looking to try to compete with other players via co-op or online play. There's some hardcore players out there you don't want to mess with. So you better learn the deeper levels of that game. But for the most part, it is a lot of fun. It's one of the best card games I've played, and I've played quite a few card battle games on the Nintendo Switch and other formats, and not all of them are fun. Some of them are just way too complex, but Super Dragon Ball Heroes is all of that plus, and it's just a lot of fun without even having to know about everything that you need to know about it. So I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend that. Keeping on with the Dragon Ball deal, Dragon Ball Fighters, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Dragon Ball Fighters, because it's not only just arguably one of the baddest, Dragon Ball fighters ever. It's probably it's among the baddest fighting games ever. It's up there. Like, people love this game to death. Like, it's the look of it, what Arc System Works have done to this, it's a thing of beauty. And again, they did all of this, making it look, actually, it looks better than the anime. It's that damn good. And when they started doing this with Guilty Gear Zard, which, by the way, that game is coming out, and rumor has it that the new Guilty Gear Zard is coming for the Nintendo Switch, but I have not had any confirmation about it. There is a YouTube video series that I watch called Switch Planet that claimed that it was coming out, but they've never mentioned where that was confirmed. I looked online to see if that was confirmed to be on the Switch. There is nothing on their official website saying that it's coming to the Switch, and I reached out to the people at Switch Planet. They never mentioned, they never replied back, so I don't know how true that is. So I would take that with a grain of salt until we get further information, but there's no mention about Guilty Gear Zard coming to the Nintendo Switch as of yet. But it's not to say that they couldn't, because if you look at the memory capacity of games like Dragon Ball Fighters and other games, it's not that big. It's really it's like 3 to 5 gigs big, and you would look at that and it's like, oh my god, that's a really small title for what they did for this game. It's incredible what they did for that small amount. So that's pretty awesome. I love what they did with that. So Dragon Ball Fighters just has it all. I mean, every fighter. I mean, there's Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which also is a great, and probably will be mentioned here as well. But Dragon Ball Fighters is all your favorite fighters on there. Now they have a season 2 that's coming out, which has Ultra Instinct Goku, as I mentioned, and Khalifa as well is going to be on there, with a few others coming. But great story mode, great fun original story mode for Dragon Ball fans. You got a really interesting arcade mode. You got some other modes in there as well, tournament mode. It's a lot of content in there to keep your replay value going for a very long time. And then online play is sick as hell. I'm afraid to play online because I might end up fighting like one of the E-Leaguers or something like that who might right the floor with me. Come in, the Sonic Foxes in there. No, I'm good. So you got that. But the game overall, if anything, it is the greatest Dragon Ball fighting game of all time. And I don't think you're going to top that unless they come out with a sequel anytime soon. So that is not up for debate at all. Like an actual 2D side-scrolling fighting game, because Dragon Ball has been doing them for years, dating back to the Famicom days. there's nothing topping this. This is Arc System Works just blew it out of the water from that point. Here is another game, which will technically be number 8, that is definitely a game that is up for debate. I don't know why this is up for debate. A lot of times I'm thinking people just want to hate on this game for the simple hate, but J-Star Victory versus Plus. There's some people who really like this game, and there are people who do not like this game. And I mentioned a discussion, I think, on a last episode about somebody who was debating about this game not being as good and claiming that the controls were crappy and everything. I just played this game the other day. I literally turned that game on the minute I had that discussion, played that game. No, I still had the same fun that I had when I first brought it. I first got it for the because it was not deemed to be out in the States. There was no guarantee that this game would be out in the States, so I brought it for the import version in Japan. It was like one of the first imports I brought in years, and I brought it for the Japanese. I brought the Japanese version of the PSP, so I get that. And then shortly afterwards, lo and behold, it came out for the States, both PS Vita and the PS4. And I believe PS3 as well. So I believe if you bought the PS4 version, that you can also play the PSP version and switch your data back and forth, which was awesome. So you could play where you left off of that on there. So this is before the Nintendo Switch. This was their cool gimmick at sorts, when they you had a game that was on the PS Vita and then the same game on the PS4 or 3. And you can play that data from there and switch it and transfer it over to there to play it there. So Nintendo decided to top them and just make the Nintendo Switch, which just did all that even easier, even more simplistic than before. So, but J-Star Victory versus Plus was a melee arena fighter that consisted of all of the Jump Force characters. This was pre One Punch Man and pre. Pre My Hero Academia. So all of these characters are on there. You had Fist of the North Star, you had JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you had Gintama, and all these really cool characters from the Shonen Jump universe on there. And what happened basically is that there's a storyline that all involves all of them entering a tournament, a world where they all end up in this jump world. Leaving their own universes and competing in this in like a 3-team battle. So like 3 members or 3 characters would team up together, and there were 4 different story arcs. One that was based on Naruto, another one that was based on Toriko, which I didn't realize he was that popular in Japan. Another one based on Ichigo from Bleach, and I forgot the 4th one. I really forgot the 4th one, but all 3 of these roads, which virtually were the same, but they had somewhat different paths. The endings were all the same, I believe, but it was just, you going through their path, and there were some different areas, but either way, this was at a time when this was on the time when I played Super Smash Brothers, which is another popular melee game. And what I hated about Super Smash Brothers was the fact that they did not have a particular ending or a storyline to go on, and they did in one of the games, if I remember, but I've always wished that they had some type of narrative in their game, and it really didn't. But Jump Force to me filled that gap, and I love the control scheme. And I had this argument on social media where somebody was claiming that the controls was crap, so I played it again. No, love the controls. I had no. My replay value of this game was so much. I replayed that game so much. I beat the game multiple times, and that alone tells you. And one thing I never actually made a big deal about was the control scheme. Like when something sticks out, I'm gonna bitch about it. I'm gonna make a big deal out of it, and that was not one of them. Graphics was pretty good, fairly good for its time. It's still good. It's still fresh and good. Sadly, it looks like the Jump Force game with different lighting right now. That's the truth. Because Jump Force, to me, I felt the controls in Jump Force were lacking. I felt the visual was extremely lacking due to the fact that they had everybody thinking it was going to be this photorealistic type of, art design that they showed on the Game Awards, and lo and behold, it was neither of that. So people were disappointed alone just for that. Then furthermore with that, they didn't have the story mode you could only play once, even whether it was crappy or not, people liked it or not. That's not the point. The point is, like, why are you only allowing us to play a story mode once in the game and then have the audacity to want us to buy it again on a Nintendo Switch? Are you kidding me? So, but unlike Jump Force, J-Star Victory Versus Plus allows you to replay the games all over again. Not only that, there are other game options, single-player game options that you can play on there. There's the J Adventure, which is the story mode. There's the Victory Road, which was another cool thing. It's very similar to what My Hero Academia 1's Justice 1 and 2 has right now. So you had that working with you. So there were other, arcade. There was also arcade, mode in there. There was also a gallery mode in there, and the gallery mode had an encyclopedia that lets you this is the part I love the most. For those who are not familiar with certain anime characters that were in the game, it's like some of myself, they had an encyclopedia that talked about the series, the characters, and the world that they lived in. So you could give you a better understanding of who you're working with and maybe intrigue you to want to invest in watching that anime. And I did, because I think I learned about Gintama for the first time playing J-Star Victory Versus Plus. I was intrigued about it because he had a very fourth wall breaking type of character here that was doing all types sorts of things that was uncharacteristic. He even had a Kamehameha wave, and I'm like, all right, what's going on here? So read up on him, looked at it, and then decided, look, I got Funimation now. I decided to look at it, and I never regretted it because I love Gintama. It's one of the funniest animes ever. It really is. And then furthermore, they got a live action movie that I thought they did a really pretty good job with. So I really dug J-Star Victory Versus Plus, and it's still out for the PlayStation 4. That's the thing. That's the game I wish that they would have ported onto the Nintendo Switch instead of that money grabbing lack of quality Jump Force. Jump Force is not as good. I did not have the enjoyment. I didn't even have a chance to truly enjoy it because once you beat the game and the side missions, all that is left, because they lock it all up, is in fact the online play. And I'm not a online play dude. I am not really an online play dude like that. I don't want to play online. I would love to play single player mode, and there really isn't a single player mode once you beat all the game. So I'm sorry, I would be surprised if they even try to if they get any real good sales from it, because there's a lot of people. There's some people who actually like the game, maybe because they didn't know that there was other better games out there, but they are people who like online games, and I respect that. I have no beef with that. But there are other people who I feel understand the situation, and they've played other games before, other anime licensed titles before, and they felt that this could have been a lot better. It could have absolutely, and I agree, it absolutely could have been a lot better. Furthermore, there was no, there's only, one, there was only one audio of voice acting. That was the Japanese version, either with all subtitles. So you could tell this was just this Jump Force is so, I could really defend why Jump Force is absolutely, without a doubt, a cash grab. You had all these characters that you could have hired the original actors for in America to do that everybody loves and put them on there. No, you didn't do that. So instead, you decided to you decided that you were going to just get this thing out quick. When it first came out, it was underdeveloped. They had to update it multiple times to get it where it is now. They still, for some reason, don't let you play the story mode. And then on top of that, they're making you pay constantly for this different content. I'm just done. That to me was a cash grab. That was an instant cash grab. WWE 2K18, which is now more playable than it was before, cash grab. I mean, just they brought this thing out underdeveloped, and it just wasn't good. But J-Star Victory versus Plus, I will heavily argue why that's a better game than Jump Force any day. And I hopefully down the line that they will bring it out. And even though it's like kind of outdated in terms of characters that they have in here, I really wish that they would bring that out. It was a highly enjoyable game. I loved it. And I only have it for the PS Vita and the PlayStation 4, but at least I still have it to play. And it is still playable. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell people. It is a fun game. It's not the greatest game in the world, nor is it ever going to be. But it's a fun anime fanfare for any otaku out there. So here's another one that I absolutely enjoyed that I've reviewed on this show, and that is Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise for Sega on the PlayStation 4. I believe it's on Xbox, so I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, but it is possibly one of the best Fist of the North Star games I've ever played. I've played Fist of the North Star games dating back to the Sega Genesis, which, believe it or not, Last Battle actually is Fist of the North Star in Japan. I don't think they had the license to make it Fist of the North Star, so they made it into they redesigned the entire sprites of the game. So, but in Japan, there's actually Fist of the North Star there. But also, I played it on. I never played the actual Mega Drive version, which was Fist of the North Star. I played the PlayStation version, PlayStation Japan version of Fist of the North Star. I've played PlayStation 2 the Dynasty Warrior version they had there as well. I believe there's a couple fighting games I had on the PSP and the PSP more or less that I played on here as well. So, Fist of North Star is always an awesome game, but Lost Paradise really nailed it home because they got the guys who worked on Yakuza to do it. So it was basically you had a Yakuza version of Fist of the North Star, but in hindsight, you had a Shenmue version of Fist of the North Star as well in there. And it did start by telling their original story that there, and it just led off to a whole different story of like everything that happens afterward with new characters and all types of things, and it was awesome. And you can replay it all over again, and there's New Game Plus and there as well. Just a lot of fun. It's very deep. I mean, it's after playing Final Fantasy VII, it really it's I would say it's a lighter version of that in a sense, but they have the same type of gameplay, the same type of RPG elements. It is a action RPG at best, but if you're a fan of that series and the movies, you will love Fist of the North Star Paradise. So that was my number 7 right there in a sense. I guess you could go number 6. This is a game a lot of people probably have not played. This is a Japanese exclusive that was played, and if you're a Bleach fan and a gamer, and you can find your way to get the ROM for that, or find the way to get the PS Vita or PSP, you owe it to yourself to get it. But Bleach Heat of Soul series, I've played every one of the Bleach games that was on the PSP and PS Vita. It's Bleach Heat of Souls was a fighting game based on the Bleach series, and what was so awesome about this is that it had a different. It's a 3D fighting game, but it also had a lot of great cinematic moments in there, based on some of the sagas that you've played in Bleach, and it was just awesome. It was I think by the time it reached 7, they started doing tag battles, which really added on to it as well. And they got to do really cool, ultra moves or power moves. I didn't ever know what they were called, but it's a really great fighting game. It had its own. It was basic, a simplistic, control scheme. I think you had a light attack, a heavy attack, and then you had your spirit gauge. You can raise it higher to be able to do your ultimate moves or whatever what they called it there. But it looked beautiful for it being on the PS Vita or the PSP at the time, and I would say it looked like something Arc System Works put together, but it was ahead of its time. And for that looking as good as it did, it looked virtually like, if you look back into the day, it doesn't look and comparing it to that of anything Arc System Works has made with their 3D anime titles, it doesn't look in comparison as good as that, but it looked very impressive for its time. And still looks good to this day, to be honest. And what they were able to put into that game, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was pretty damn good. Each one of them I enjoyed a lot. Had all your favorite characters from Bleach on there, and a lot of great action on there. But again, like, the great part about it was the story modes, and each one had added more to the games as well. You had different modes in the games. You had different features and different things, and it had its own like RPG elements in there as well. So, you know, the Heat of Soul series, and I'm just talking like from 1 to 7, was great, because each one, like I say, each one had something different and added more to it. And by the time you got to 7, you were like doing tag battles, and you were playing with like larger characters too, like large scale characters as well in there. And it worked out. It really played up, and the essence of Bleach was in there. Absolutely. I just number 5. Well, I'm moving up. Number 5 is something I had to revisit, because I've always liked this anime, but now I like it even more. And the fact that now I'm more versed into the universe, I enjoyed this game better. And that was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Eyes of Heaven, which is out for the PlayStation 4. I'm not sure if it's not out for the Xbox or PC or whatever, or Steam, but JoJo's Bizarre, which is a Bandai Namco game. It's another arena fighter, but it's an arena fighter. This has the essence of J-Star Victory in here. It has a lot of the single player content, much like it. They have a lot of unlockable things you could do in there, but the story of it is just basically it bases itself after the events of Stardust Chronicles, when Joestar faces Dio and defeats Dio. So basically, they are really try to simplify the storyline here, or summarize it, is that the crew from Stardust Chronicles, which is Joestar and Jotaro and all the rest, they are in a journey to find all these body parts that is going to help the situation, and is bringing all of these different timelines together. So you got all these characters from all of the previous and future JoJo series coming together. What was great about it is that the first time around, I knew about the Stardust Chronicle crew. I didn't know about the Golden Wind or any of the other characters from the previous deals, or the Diamond is Unbreakable crew. It wasn't until Toonami came out and started airing the new episodes, the new series of everything, that I really got into the new characters and what they were doing. And then especially Diamond is Unbreakable, which I really got into. I would say that would probably be one of my second favorite ones, because the story on that one was so awesome. And they really pulled it home with you getting engaged in all the characters and what was happening with them there. But down the line, I learned through more research and just waiting for the new series come out. I'm with Golden Wind now, but there are other series coming out that should be coming out for Toonami very soon, consisting of like Jotaro's daughter. So like it just goes down the line from that whole entire point there. And when I started learning more about those characters, I went back to play the game, and now I enjoy it much more because I know everybody. I know everybody and what they were there for and what's going on, and I'm more intrigued and more interested, and I have a way more interest factor. Before, it was just about the gameplay and everything, which is a lot of fun, and you get to use the stands in a more particular way. There's a tag battle. There's ways that you could do tag team moves and ultra tag team moves in there and such. But the storytelling in there is actually much better for me now and much more enjoyable now because of it. I really enjoyed that game. So I do recommend JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Eyes of Heaven, which is on the PlayStation 4 right now. And I believe you could probably get it for an extremely low price right now, because it's been out for a very long time. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like $20 or $15 right now on there. So you go out of there, check it out. It better be. Just reviewed this game recently, One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. I do recommend that. That was an awesome game. If you guys remember the review I did a few episodes ago talking about that game. It's one of the best One Piece Dynasty Warriors games to date. You were able to do so much more than you did with the other games, including this time having 4 Masuo moves that you customize yourself and put them together. So the RPG elements are a lot more in depth this time around. It not only covers all of the main chronicles and sagas of One Piece, but it has an original story at the end, which is awesome. And seeing Luffy in like 4th gear was also awesome in the game too. There's some other DLC that is coming out for the game too. I was opting out to get it at the moment because I didn't know whether the game was going to be fun to play or good to play. But there's some other DLC that's coming out. I don't know what it's going to consist of, but we'll see if it's going to be worth getting that. But right now, the actual full game in itself is a lot of fun. This is probably the most fun I've had out of a lot of other One Piece games, with the exception of one which I put in an honorable mention as well. So that is worth getting if you're looking to check that out. I have not played the PlayStation, what is it, World Seeker? I've still not played that yet. I've still not played that yet or had a desire. I heard that game was okay. It was like okay to all right, but maybe I'll play it. I'll go and invest in it someday as well. Here's another game that I love, which was out in America, but not entirely. Like, I think I have it for the PlayStation 3, but I also have it put it for the PS Vita because it never came out for the portable version. But I have the Japanese version on my Vita. On one of I have 2 PlayStation Vitas, and one is dedicated to only Japan games only, and then the other one is dedicated to US titles. But the Gundam Warriors, which is the Gundam version of Dynasty Warrior. It's love that game. Love that game. I wish that game did come out for the US on handheld, but it didn't. But it consists of all of the characters from all of the Gundam games, including my favorites, Gundam Wing and G Gundam, which is the martial arts fighting game version of Gundam. I love that there's a Gundam that everybody loves. There's one for everybody. But Gundam Wing was always one of my favorites. Hiro Yui is one of my... That kid is just... You do not want to mess with that kid. He's kind of like Cloud, but just darker. It's just way more darker. Like, he will not hesitate to kill you, whether in person or by his Gundam. He was just, and he wasn't cutthroat. That was like, dude, that's my job. That's what I got to do. Just some morbid kids on that show. God, jeez, they were trained to be almost like sleeper cells agents to some extent. But it consists of all these different, boards, and you had all these different Gundam designs there, and awesome. And just played like every other Gundam Dynasty Warrior game that you've ever played, but it had its own significant flair with it as well. So that was a lot of fun to play. But the fact that it was only out for the Japanese version on a handheld, that always pissed me off. I never really liked the fact that they did that, but at least I was able to play it, and it was region free. That's what I love about PlayStation. Now this is what I love about the Nintendo Switch. If they have something exclusive from Japan, you can play it. You're just gonna have to pay a little bit extra to get it. That's not even including shipping either. So and if anybody does still do that, I Play Asia is still one of my favorites for that. Amazon does have some really good sources of that, but I would price check each of them from Play Asia and Amazon for that. I don't think there's any other source that I would go to or I can think of other than Play Asia. They have all the exclusive. And then maybe if you travel to New York as well, New York probably has some really great stuff too up there. I know Midtown, Midtown Comics, which I just got I just got a notification from. They also have some exclusive, really good anime content. I don't know if not in the form of games, but just exclusive figures and anime stuff up there. Just awesome. Best place ever. So got that. And then number 2, Dragon Ball Xenoverse. It's hard to compare Dragon Ball Xenoverse to Dragon Ball FighterZ. They're both fighting battle. They're both fighting games in hindsight. Dragon Ball Xenoverse is more like a arena fighter. It just in the air to some extent. And I did enjoy that better than Kakarot. I like Xenoverse better than Kakarot. I thought it was more action-packed than that. I think Kakarot tried to be a little bit more turn-based action, if you are ATB action, if you will. Then that, and they did a fairly good job, but it's just the execution of it, the fluidity of it, wasn't as action-packed as I would say Xenoverse is, because Xenoverse is a little bit more freedom to moving around, to battling and whatnot. And what I love about, and I should have mentioned these, I really honestly should have even put these in honorable mention factor, but I don't know why I did not. But Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Dragon Ball FighterZ is the modern day equivalent of two really good Dragon Ball games that people loved back in the day, and that was Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22, and also Dragon Ball Z Legends. Dragon Ball Z Legends is what Xenoverse is now. Xenoverse is a much more expanded version of Legends, which allows you to, it was like a 2D fighter, but it allowed you to. They did a lot of smoke and mirrors where it made it seem like it was a 3D environment using 2D sprite characters, but it was a six-man battle. So you had team of 3 here and a team of 3 over there, and they had this gauge in the middle that allowed you to go up and battle until somebody can get ahead of their characters, and their gauge will go to the end, and whoever gets to the end, that character in particular gets to do their power move, depleting energy from the other team. Xenoverse takes that and expands on that type of deal, but does a lot more. And you have this bigger world, and now has an original story on it and such. And I really enjoyed every bit of Xenoverse because it reminded me like a modern day version of that. Dragon Ball FighterZ as well. Ultimate Battle 22 was like at the time one of the finer Dragon Ball Z 2D side scrolling fighters out there, and this was during the Cell Saga, so that was at the time the height of what they were at, and you got to see, the Buu Saga. That's not true. It was the Buu Saga that they were at the height of, and you got to see Goku and Goku Super Saiyan 3 Goku, which was the hottest Goku at the time before they went Ultra Instinct, or even before. There were some people who like Super Saiyan 4. Yeah, it was okay, but Ultra Instinct is way better than that, in my opinion. But now you get to see these updated versions of these games that kind of are mirrored or parallel to what those games were in the past there. So Xenoverse to me is absolutely the best. Now again, this is number 2. Doesn't mean it's the best of the bunch. Like, I don't know which one I would make the best out of this, but I thought that I liked the story mode. I love the extra added features that you have in the game. They got their own car battle game in there now. They also have some other story elements in there. The expansions made this game, to me, a lot more to enjoy than I think Kakarot will do, because of the expansions that they have. Like, Kakarot is only going to have 2 DLCs where, you got so many gameplay elements within the game. It's awesome on Xenoverse. Plus, you got online play as well. So I don't think people are going to be surprised by what my last recommendation is going to be. The entire Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm series, by far. If you've never watched the complete Naruto series and you need a quick reference, this is the series to get. Not only because it covers a lot of the main sagas without going through all the fillers of the series, it's that it also does it in the most spectacular way. The cutscenes, the CGI cutscenes in there are theatrical, if not phenomenal. And you got whether you like the Japanese actors or the American actors, they're all on there, and you don't miss a beat. I've said this all the time. I found out Jiraiya died because of Ultimate Ninja Storm 2. And then I went and watched the damn thing and was even more distraught at that as well. And with Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 coming out tomorrow, and I highly recommend, if you whether you play it on a PlayStation 4 or you play it on a Nintendo Switch, it's all worth it. it actually virtually all looks the same. They did a great job with the quality, porting it onto the PlayStation, onto the Nintendo Switch. But you get to experience some really great action, some really great moments, some great QTE, gameplay as well, mini gameplay as well. Just some epic moments when you're playing against the Ninetales Fox, or you're playing against Pain, and it's just beautifully done. I so enjoyed it. I love it to death. So that is probably the top 10 games. And like I said, there are a ton of games I could have mentioned and I wanted to mention. But if I had to narrow it down, these were like the 10 games that I've really enjoyed over the years. And a lot of it I still have now in my possession. So those are the games that I would definitely recommend to people. Honorable mentions, I would say Saint Seiya Soldier Soul, which is on the PlayStation 4. I believe you can get that for fairly cheap from Bandai Namco as well. It's a fighting game. It's a 3D fighting game. If you like Saint Seiya, that's an awesome game as well. A lot of great cinematic story mode scenes, some RPG elements as well, and some other game modes in there that you can play too. And some of the game modes are also, I believe the other game modes that are on there are also its own story within it as well. So they have that. I mentioned Dragon Ball Kakarot, which I do enjoy. It's not the best thing the best Dragon Ball game I played, but they did a hell of a job with that, so I would not discredit them for that. One Piece Unlimited World Red was at the time my favorite One Piece game. It's still a very beautiful. I love the flow and animation and frame rate of the game and the character direction, but they did a really great number on One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. So for that, I didn't know if Unlimited World Red was ever going to be dethroned, but I do love the action. I love the control scheme. I absolutely love the original story that they had for it, because it felt like any one of their movies that they've ever done, like Stampede or Gold, it felt the story mode was in that level. And that's why I absolutely love what they did with that too. So that gets an honorable mention. Inazuma 11, which is a game that should have been out by now on the Nintendo Switch, but has not come out for some reason. Inazuma 11 is based on the anime series, which is like a bunch of kids that are trying to... It's one kid that is trying to bring more integrity to the soccer team that is just giving up on becoming a legit elite soccer team. But within it, it's a lot of like really wacky, over the top game play, where their soccer kicks or whatever are also like moves that are equivalent to Street Fighter. Which is another game that is going to be coming out. Captain, I forgot the game that's coming out, that is guaranteed to come out by Bandai Namco. That's coming out for the Switch and coming out for other formats as well. So there's some similarities to that as well. So, but it was a RPG. It was a really cool RPG game that on the 3DS that, you use the touchpad to come up with different, strategies and whatnot. And, it was a lot of the gameplay and RPG element was a lot of fun. It was slightly more turn-based. So it was a bit turn-based. So it was sort of kind of, but it didn't feel like it because of the way that they were going about it and the structure that they've created for it, making it seem like it was more real time than it was turn-based. So it was awesome. I hope that it does eventually come out for the newer version comes out for the Nintendo Switch, and I think that one's supposed to be based on the newer game that was coming out as well. So you had that, and then the last one I would say, Victorious Boxer Hajime no Ippo, which came out for the PSP and the PS2. This is a boxing series that was so awesome, and it was awesome because not only because of the characters. This was like a if you ever watch Victorious Boxer or Hajime no Ippo, Ippo is your ultimate underdog. He was bullied all the time. He was a mama's boy. He wanted to just be a good dude, but he was always bullied. And it wasn't until one of the characters in the series decided to take him under, and he started to learn boxing, or he started learning his love for boxing. Not to just, but it wasn't to dominate. It wasn't to get the bullies back. He was always humble along the way. It was only to be a better boxer. It was only to learn more about boxing and to be the best at boxing, not to be the best, better than somebody else. and he just had his love for boxing. So you play this game, the game had a lot of great physics to it and a lot of great features that gave it almost a real fight feel to some extent. There were you could stagger an opponent, you can knock them down. Oh God, the knockdowns, the knockouts were devastating. Some of them are devastating, and some of the characters in the game, if you watch that series, is on there. Like, they have their own, every one of them had their own signature moves. Ipo himself, who kind of patterned himself by Mike Tyson, and that was the other thing that was so cool about the anime series, is that they really did pay homage to a lot of real fighters of yesterday. Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Rocky Marciano, they really talked about all of those in the series, and they were also talked about actual techniques, boxing techniques in the series as well, and they implemented all that into the game. So my favorite part was, playing as Ipo and doing the Dempsey roll, which was apparently which was something that Mike Tyson used to do. He used to swivel around and move, and you would never know which way he's going, and then he start wailing on you. But if you do it on the game, and he does, if you knock somebody out, there's this big effect where you knock somebody out and the whole entire game camera shakes like there's an earthquake, and it feels devastating as hell. So it's just awesome. So that's a game I wish or hope that they would bring back out or make a new one for the newer gen systems, because that game is awesome. Absolutely. I played it on, they did bring it out in America, I think, at one point, but then later on I've played the Japanese version, and I own it. I still own it for the PS Vita, and it is still worth playing to this day. So those are my honorable mentions right there. So folks, if you ever are looking, if you own some of these games or you want to learn, get some of these games, they're all available in some form or fashion. You could go out of your way to find them out. But I absolutely enjoyed every one of those games, and I hope that you do too. But there's a lot of games out there that people might enjoy, some more than others. It might be something that's not on my list, but they're available out there. You could go out there and check it out. But these are just particular ones that I enjoyed the most in there, and hopefully, maybe you'll enjoy them too. So, folks, that will do it for this edition of Select Start. Thank you guys so very much, as always, for being a part of the show. Now, just a reminder, Trial of Mana, or Secret of Mana, is coming out tomorrow. Streets of Rage comes out next Thursday. I will be actually getting that, as well as Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, which includes the Road to Boruto as well on air. So, shout out to Amanda C. Miller, who plays the voice of Boruto as well. So, much love to them all. This Sunday, I'm going to do something different as well. I'm not going to review anything. There's nothing, I don't think it isn't anything intriguing for me to review this week. So there's a new app that's out right now called Retro Crush, which is a new free anime app that's out. So not only am I going to talk about that app and review that app, so to speak, but I'm going to grade that app, and as well as compare it to all the other streaming networks, Netflix, Amazon Prime, what else is there? Hulu, who all have invested in anime, because they recognize that they have, there's a heavy market for otaku or anime fans out there that enjoy this. They're also up against Funimation and Crunchyroll, who have possibly the biggest library of anime ever from anybody. Tubi also has their own select, but it's like a small little version of it. But we're going to compare a lot of these streaming networks to see who makes the grade the best, who gets the highest grade, who gets the highest GPA of them all. So that's going to be pretty much the topic of that. I'm going to look at these and see how many anime series is on there, which ones are on there, who got the better of the bunch, and see it from there. So we'll be doing that on Sunday, as well as any news that come about in the world of our favorite fandoms as well. Again, thank you guys so much. If you are interested, if all of our new listeners, thank you for joining the show. I hope that I have been able to entertain you and take away some form of stress or whatever that's going through right now in your world, and hopefully that we can continue to do so. So if you want, you can go to talktimelive.com, check out all of our episodes there. You can check it all out there. You can also check out over 40 plus interviews with some of the hottest names in all of our favorite fandoms in the world of anime, in the world of video games, game designers, indie game designers, artists from comic books, and directors from Marvel, and showrunners from Marvel as such, writers and everything. You know, all of that is there on our TalkTimeLive.com blog page, as well as you could go to exclusive page on there. You could click on the exclusive tab, or you could type in TalkTimeLive.com/exclusive. And you can type it there and check it out even faster. This is just a quick way for you guys to, just weed out all of the episodes to find these things, and you can listen to them there. There's some great interviews I have with some of your favorites: Sailor Moon, Gohan, Ryu from Street Fighter, Dante from Devil May Cry. All of those guys are there. Game designers from some of your favorite games. Just all there. Get to learn some things, get to enjoy them the most, and I'm just, it's an honor to be able to, get a chance to talk to all of these people and learn from them in there. You can check it out there. You can also subscribe and download every episode every week, every time we get a new episode on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Pocket Cast, and all Amazon devices. Stitcher Radio as well, if I didn't mention that. It's all there, anywhere and everywhere you want to hear all things anime, comics, movies, and games. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys all very much. It's been always an honor and a pleasure to get a chance to speak my, get a voice and speak my great opinions, because they're also all they are is opinions at the end of the day. Some of them are facts, some of them are exclusive facts, but a lot of it is just more fan opinion at best. And we're just all here to have fun. So folks, thank you again. That'll do it. On behalf of myself, this is Dax Avery Josiah saying, learn to let go more than ever. Live life as much as you can and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. presents Talk Time Live. We are out of here. People, as always, be safe. I'll talk to you on Sunday. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.